Am I the jerk for letting my best friend walk through a dangerous part of town at night alone because I was too busy celebrating my birthday party? I, 26F, have been best friends with Jake, 27M, for over 6 years. We work at the same company and are also planning to go on a work and travel trip together soon. This situation happened last Friday, which was my birthday. I had planned a big family gathering with over 20 guests, some of whom traveled over an hour to be there. Jake was invited, and he told me he would come. The night before, we went grocery shopping together, but while sitting in the car, he suddenly told me at the last minute that he wouldn't be attending because he had picked up an extra shift at work. I was a little hurt because we always celebrate our birthdays together, and he didn't need to take the shift. Our company has plenty of people who could have covered it, but I accepted it and moved on. On my birthday, we were texting before his shift. For context, Jake doesn't have a driver's license and usually relies on public transport or walks. I do have a license, but I don't own a car. I use my mother's when I need it. That afternoon, he mentioned that he would have to walk home because public transport stops running at a certain time, something he already knew when he took the shift. He also told me he was feeling a bit sick and asked if I could pick him up and drive him home. Our boss even told him he could leave 2 hours early to catch the last bus if he needed to, but he chose not to. I told him I couldn't leave my own birthday party just to pick him up and drive him home. I had guests over, food and drinks to serve, and I felt it would be rude to leave when people had put in time and effort to celebrate with me. He replied, "Can't you just leave for 5 minutes and drive me home?" I explained that it wasn't just a 5-minute trip, I would be gone for at least 30 minutes in total. He just said, "Okay." Later, I checked Find My to make sure he got home safely and texted him, apologizing that I couldn't drive him, reminding him that I normally do, but I really couldn't leave my own party. That's when he got angry and told me my behavior was unacceptable and that I was just making excuses. For further context, I do drive him home fairly often, even when I'm not working the same shift as him. But this time, I had a prior commitment, one that he was originally supposed to attend. I reminded him again that our boss had told him he could leave early to catch the bus. At this point, he started arguing that the town is dangerous at night, but we've both lived here our entire lives, and nothing has ever happened to us. I used to walk at night all the time before I had a license, and another friend of ours, who is also a co-worker, regularly walks home late at night without issue. I tried to understand if something else was going on and asked him if maybe he was upset about something deeper and just projecting it onto this situation. I might have worded it poorly, but instead of talking, he just exploded at me. I apologized if I said it the wrong way, but at that point, he wasn't listening to me at all. Meanwhile, he wasn't trying to understand my side either. I told him it was my responsibility to be at my own birthday party and that my guests had made an effort to celebrate with me. I couldn't just disappear for half an hour. He dismissed that and told me I was a bad friend, a bad sister, because I said I wouldn't drive my sister home either if I had prior commitments, and it wasn't an emergency, and that my priorities were all wrong. In the end, he told me he didn't want to see me for a while. I am honestly confused and questioning our friendship after this because of how he reacted. I really tried to understand his side, and I get that he was hurt that I wasn't there for him when he needed me. But at the same time, I couldn't just leave my own party if it wasn't an emergency. Now I don't know if our friendship can bounce back from this or how I'm supposed to rely on him moving forward. If this is how he reacts to something like this, what happens if we end up in a similar situation while traveling? Is he just going to leave me behind if I don't do what he wants? Relevant comments. Commenter. I think if you really look back at your dynamic and who does what for whom, you will find a huge imbalance, with you doing more. Also, the fact that he did not want to go to a party celebrating you and not him, and that he wanted you to leave the party, indicates that he just wants to use you. Ops response. Yeah, there is a bit of an imbalance in the dynamic, but I thought it might be because of our different circumstances. His family isn't as well off as mine. Also, acts of service is my love language, so I tend to do a lot for people I hold dear. I always thought of us as those typical, picture-perfect TV show besties, but his behavior regarding this incident shattered that picture for me. Commenter 2. Even more, it sounds like he didn't like you being the center of attention. Is he usually the one people focus on, with you as the sidekick? Ops response. To be honest, I don't know. I never really paid attention to who was the center of attention in situations where we were in groups. But now that I think about it, we were at a party recently where he separated from me for almost the entire time to go off with another friend we hadn't seen in a long time. I assumed it was because they hadn't seen each other in months, so I didn't really pay attention to it either and just stayed with other friends. Commenter 3. This was kind of what I was thinking. He sounds manipulative. No one is going to leave their birthday party to give someone a ride home. It's incredibly rude to leave a party in your honor, and I'm 99% sure that's common knowledge. Either something else is going on, or he fabricated this whole thing as a test. Ops response. And he told me that he had talked to others about it, and not one of them disagreed with his point of view. That made me a bit insecure, wondering if I'm the jerk here, but I think the comments are debunking that. Thanks you all. I just would love to know what he told those people, or his thought process for that matter, because I would never react this way. The test could be a plausible explanation. He might have felt the need to test me before we go to another country for a year. That's the other thing I need to figure out, because if this is how he reacts to something like this, I can't rely on him. And even if our friendship survives, I can't go to another country with him as my support system. Update 1 day later. First of all, thank you all for the helpful comments. I never expected so many people to relate to this. I'm so sorry for everyone who has gone through something similar. To clarify something I've seen speculated in the comments, there are no romantic feelings involved. He's gay, so there was never any romantic interest between us. After reading a lot of comments and reflecting on everything, I've decided to go no contact, aside from necessary work-related interactions. I've also made the decision to move forward with my work and travel plans alone, because I simply can't trust someone like this to be my emergency contact in another country. I had a long conversation with my parents and showed them the chat. My mom actually broke down crying. She told me she's seen narcissistic behavior and red flags in him for years, but things have gotten worse in the last few months. She said this has been weighing on her, and when she laid everything out for me, I finally saw the bigger picture. Even though it wasn't a romantic relationship, I now realize he was isolating me from other friends and family, always trying to make himself the center of my social life. He even tried to insert himself into most of my other friendships, and looking back, anytime I made progress in life, he would find a way to hold me back or drag me down. My dad told me that some of the recent arguments I've had with my family were actually their way of trying to get me to see what was happening, but I just didn't recognize it until now. He also said he's relieved I won't be traveling overseas with him. My parents reassured me that while this will be hard at first, I'll heal, and cutting ties now will make things easier in the long run. They also pointed out things I had overlooked, like how he tagged along on family holidays without paying but was never particularly grateful to my family for inviting him. I've started talking to one of our mutual friends about what happened. She's currently busy with the Super Bowl, but once she's back, I'll tell her everything as objectively as possible. I don't want to trash talk him or damage his reputation at work, but if coworkers ask, I'll be honest about why I've distanced myself. I genuinely do wish him the best, and I hope he works through his issues and finds happiness. But I'm done. My mom breaking down in tears was the final straw for me. Even though a lot of my social circle overlaps with him, I know I'll eventually sort everything out and move on. It honestly feels like a friendship divorce, but I think this is a necessary step. I need to reevaluate who my real friends are and how they treat me, and I might need to cut ties with a few other people along the way. I actually texted one of my close friends, joking that we're getting a divorce and that I'm filing for custody of her. I really hope she won't be manipulated by him, but right now, I need to be prepared for anything. This won't be easy, but I'll cut my losses and move forward, hopefully toward a better future with better friends, ones I can truly trust and who put just as much effort into our friendship as I do. Relevant comments. Commenter. He overreacted the way he did because he had your entire birthday evening planned out. He intentionally took an unnecessary shift, distancing himself from your party and your time with friends. He declined the suggestion of leaving 2 hours early, which would have allowed him to get a ride home, because he was used to you caving to his manipulations and just knew he could convince you to leave your own birthday party for him. He had already contrived a false narrative to keep you away longer, preventing you from being celebrated by anyone other than him. When you stood your ground, thereby maintaining your self-respect, he didn't get his way. This was foreign to him, and he couldn't handle it. Now he's doubling down and still trying to manipulate you. His silent treatment was orchestrated to make you come running and apologize, but even that isn't working. I'm so proud of you because this seems like something big that's needed to happen for a long time. He sounds emotionally immature and very self-serving. Get ready, he's going to try to make this rough for you if you let him. Ops response. Thank you, but I will do my best not to let him try anything again. I'm even thinking of changing my job after the work and travel. Commenter 2. People have a hard time recognizing abuse in friendships. It's similar to how many people don't realize they're in an abusive relationship if there's no physical violence. Many believe that abusive relationships only happen in romantic contexts, not friendships. I've seen multiple posts over the years describing clear single white female situations, yet the op just can't wrap their head around it and doesn't want to accept it. When commenters point out that they're in an abusive relationship, they typically refuse to believe it at first, despite coming to Reddit for help because something feels off. They always think they're overreacting and want to give the benefit of the doubt. Abusive relationships can happen in any type of relationship. The sunk cost fallacy traps many victims in these situations. It's always interesting to see posters like ops start looking back on their friendship without the rose-tinted glasses. 99% of the time, they end up uncovering a lot of messed up behavior that's been going on for a very long time. It's hard to see the forest when you're too busy focusing on the trees. I hope Op is safe. The lengths to which her friend was willing to go to manipulate and trap both of them in this calculated situation are extreme and, quite frankly, unhinged. I wouldn't be surprised if this takes a sharp turn into obsession and stalking real quick. Just like in an abusive romantic relationship, her friend is losing control and has upped the ante. Now he knows his tactics weren't enough to get what he wanted. Once he realizes she's pulling the plug, things could really go off the rails. He's already escalated by screaming at her and piling on the guilt. He's going to escalate further, but how far will he go? Who knows? You can't reason with unreasonable people, and you cannot predict their actions. Op needs to be on high alert and should not underestimate him.